Okay, this is part 9 of Schopenhauer quotes. He says, the object of science is to recognize the many in the one, to perceive the rules in any given example, and not to go on counting up facts ad infinitum. So basically, it's the concept that matters, not the long lists of things. Metaphors and similes are of great value, insofar as they explain an unknown relation by a known one. And by the way, that's how the brain works. The way you learn something new is you connect it to what you already know. Even the more detailed simile, which grows into a parable or an allegory, is nothing more than the exhibition of some relation in the simplest, most visible and palpable form. The growth of ideas rests at bottom upon simile, because ideas arise by a process of combining the similarities and neglecting the differences between things. So, what I'm saying is, Schopenhauer, this is back in around 1800, he figured out that's how the brain works. That's how we learn something. We associate the new information with what we already know. Whenever you want to learn something new and you want to be sure that you hang on to it, ask yourself, how is this like what I already know? How is this different from what I already know? Intelligence, in a strict sense of the word, ultimately consists in a seizing of relations between things, and a clear and pure grasp of relations is all the more often attained when the comparison is made between cases that lie wide apart from one another and between things of a quite different nature. As long as a relation... Yeah, by the way, those are some of the best similes. When you can compare things that seem widely disparate, then it becomes rather obvious. It's just like saying, why do you have a blood pressure? To pump your blood against gravity to the top of your brain. Normal blood's like water. If you eat a high-fat meal, the red cells stick together. Now your blood's like a milkshake. You need to pump harder to pump a milkshake. Sodium vasoconstricts the arteries. To pump through a constricted artery, a narrowed artery, you have to pump harder. So dietary sodium and dietary fat both increase blood pressure. That's a simple metaphor that once you got that, it's easy to remember. And by the way, as simple as that is, that's not taught in medical school or in internal medicine residency or in the residency of any field. 99% of doctors don't know what I just told you, as simple as that is. Okay. As long as a relation is known to me existing in only one case, I have but an individual idea of it. In other words, only an intuitive grasp of it. But as soon as I see the same relation in two different cases, I have a general idea of its whole nature, and this is a deeper and more perfect knowledge. Since then, similes and metaphors are such a powerful engine of knowledge, it is a sign of great intelligence in a writer if his similes are unusual and at the same time to the point. Yeah, I know I'm reading a great writer when they're surprising me. They're making metaphors and they're surprising me. I'm like, wow, because most writers, they don't really surprise you. They just put one foot in front of another and try to work their way towards something. But a writer who surprises you, that's a sign they know something. Okay, Aristotle also observed that by far the most important thing for a writer to have is the power of metaphor, for it is a gift which cannot be taught, and it is a mark of genius. Okay, that's another reason why they say you can't teach writing style, because it's a manifestation of personality. Schopenhauer. In appreciating genius, one should attend only to the qualities at which he most excels. That which distinguishes genius and should be the standard for judging it is the height to which it is able to soar when it is in the proper mood and finds a fitting occasion, a height always out of the reach of ordinary talent. Yeah, so the genius has to be in their area of expertise, talking about something that they have experience with. And just because a genius might be an idiot on other things, they're still a genius on the thing that they were a genius about. For a man who studies to gain insight, books and studies are merely rungs on a ladder of which he climbs to the summit of knowledge. There are two kinds of history, the history of politics and the history of literature and art. The history of politics is the history of the will, and the history of art and literature is the history of the intellect. The history of the will is a tale of woe, agony, struggle, fraud. The history of literature and art is everywhere pleasing and serene, like the intellect when left to itself. Its chief branch is the history of philosophy. Philosophy is the fundamental basis of intellectual history. To gain immortality, an author must possess so many excellences that while it will not be easy to find anyone who can understand and appreciate them all, there will be men in every age who are able to recognize and value some of them. In this way, the credit of the book will be maintained throughout the long course of centuries. Like for the Irish monks who preserved ancient Greek, ancient Roman civilization, and early Christian civilization, copying all the manuscripts, they would have to make a decision about what book they want to copy because the manuscripts were expensive. Putting them on like the sheepskin parchment, that was pretty expensive. So they had to say, this is worth it. Let us keep a copy of, Oedipus Rex. Let us keep a copy of Cicero. Let us keep a copy of St. Augustine. Okay. An author like this, so he's talking about a great author who wrote a great book. He says, in this way, the credit of the book will be maintained through the long course of centuries. An author like this can only be a man who, over the wide earth, one would seek in vain to find someone like him. His distinction is unmistakable. If a man wants to read good books, he must avoid bad ones because time is short and energy is limited. Any book that it is at all important ought to be read twice, partly because on the second reading the connection of different portions of the book will be better understood, and the beginning fully comprehended only when the end is known, and because we are in a new mindset for the second reading. On the second perusal, we get a new view of every passage, and the book may appear in another light. When any genuine and excellent work makes its appearance, the chief difficulty in its way is that among other bad work that's already in possession of the field and accepted as if it were good. Yeah, like the conventional medical books are stupid and they're wrong, but they prevent people from being interested in reading the new better books, like my books. The public has no sense for excellence, and therefore no notion of how very rare it is to find men really capable of doing anything great in poetry, philosophy, or art, or that their works are alone worthy of exclusive attention. The dabblers are the weeds that prevent the corn from coming up. Okay, so that's the end of Schopenhauer Quotes, Part 9. I hope you found that helpful.